You may believe your memory foam mattress is the pinnacle of comfort, but medieval peasants would probably find our modern sleep struggles hilarious. Turns out, the very people we assume lived in constant hardship may have stumbled upon the secret to perfect sleep centuries before we invented blackout curtains and melatonin gummies. Let's start with the most obvious difference. No screens, no smartphones, no emails, no binge-watching 15 episodes of anything at 2 a.m. when the sun went down in the 1300s. So did the people. And they did so for a very practical reason. Candlelight was expensive. You weren't about to waste your precious wax rations scrolling through 14th century versions of social media. The average medieval evening was short, quiet, and, frankly, boring, which is exactly what modern sleep experts now recommend for a good night's rest. Researchers call it circadian alignment, but medieval folks simply called it going to bed because it was dark and they were tired. There were no fluorescent bulbs to disrupt melatonin production, no notification buzz to spike your cortisol at midnight, and no doom scrolling before bed. Just silence, darkness, and the occasional owl. The kind of natural ambience you now pay a monthly subscription for on a sleep app. And yes, medieval nights were truly quiet. No cars, no glowing billboards, number 24-hour pizza joints, just the rustling of trees, the low crackle of a fire, and maybe your neighbor's cow making some suspiciously loud noises in the middle of the night. Their evening routines were equally simple. A final bite of coarse bread, a quick prayer, and a trip to the outhouse. That was it. No intense gym session, no arguments in a group chat, and certainly no just one more episode aha moment. Their lifestyle wasn't consciously optimized for productivity. It was accidentally optimized for deep, restorative sleep. Historical records suggest that bedtime could start as early as 8 p.m., especially during winter, and unlike us, they had no guilt about sleeping too early. Back then, if you were awake at 2 a.m., you were either a midwife delivering a baby or you were probably possessed. Contrary to what Hollywood movies might show, not everyone slept on filthy straw piles in a damp dungeon. In fact, many peasant homes were surprisingly effective at promoting good sleep, whether they meant to or not. Start with the beds. The average sleeping setup wasn't a luxurious four-poster, but it was designed for a purpose: to keep you warm, off the ground, and safe from things with too many legs. The mattress was typically a sack stuffed with straw, hay, or dried rushes, not exactly memory foam, unless you count the lingering memory of bugs. But here's the clever bit: those sacks were often filled with herbs: lavender, sage, wormwood, chamomile. Why? Because medieval peasants weren't stupid. These herbs kept lice, fleas, and rodents away, and made the bed smell far better than most modern locker rooms. Bedding wasn't just for comfort, it was strategic. No bug spray, no pest control, just nature's own apothecary tucked under your blankets. Every night was like falling asleep in a rustic herbal spa. And privacy, forget it. Most families shared one bed or slept in the same room: parents, kids, grandparents, and maybe even the goat. This wasn't because they were overly fond of each other, but because warmth was a group activity. Walls were thin, drafts were constant, and windows were tiny or non-existent. The more bodies in the bed, the better your chances of waking up with all your toes. Even nobles, the wealthy people with their feather beds, built bedrooms with small doors, thick curtains, and heavy hangings for one reason: to trap warmth and block light. It turns out medieval architecture was accidentally a champion of melatonin production. Do you think sleeping through the night in one solid block is the gold standard? Not for medieval folks. They didn't just sleep, they slept twice. Most people in the Middle Ages followed a pattern called segmented sleep, which involved a first sleep, a period of wakefulness in the middle, and then a second sleep until morning. This wasn't a rare exception. It was the norm, and nobody thought it was weird. You'd go to bed after nightfall, sleep a few hours, wake up around midnight, and then go back to sleep for a second round. That middle of the night period wasn't seen as insomnia. It was scheduled downtime. During that gap, people prayed, talked, smoked, tended the fire, and even visited neighbors. Imagine popping into your friend's house at 1 a.m. just to chat about turnip prices. Medical texts from the time even recommended this waking hour as the perfect time for intimacy. But here's where it gets truly interesting. Modern sleep researchers have rediscovered this pattern. It turns out, segmented sleep might actually be more natural for humans than our current 8-block model. Studies show that without artificial light, most people revert to this exact cycle. In other words, medieval people weren't weird. We are. This waking hour was peaceful, quiet, and even meditative a built-in mental reset. Compare that to your own midnight ritual of anxiety scrolling and self-diagnosing on WebMD. We tend to think of good sleep as a personal responsibility. But in the Middle Ages, entire communities quietly conspired to help you sleep better. For starters, curfews were real. Many towns had a literal cover fire bell that rang at sunset. The message was simple: put out your hearth, snuff your candle, and go to bed before your thatched roof catches fire. These weren't polite nudges. Local laws enforced darkness and silence after a certain hour. Violating candle ordinances could result in fines or public shaming. Even music had a bedtime. Town criers or watchmen would make the rounds, enforcing nightly peace like medieval sleep sheriffs. Darkness wasn't just expected, it was economically enforced. Candles were expensive, so you weren't wasting them playing dice games. Noise was socially unacceptable. Neighbors lived close and homes had paper-thin insulation. If you were the guy still hammering away in your workshop at 10 p.m., you were now officially that guy in 1324. In short, medieval towns accidentally built the most effective sleep hygiene system the world had seen until noise-canceling headphones and melatonin gummies. Here's the plot twist. For all their lack of technology, central heating, or orthopedic pillows, medieval people might have been winning the sleep game without even trying. Today, we spend billions on sleep aids, from white noise machines to weighted blankets filled with anxiety and glass beads. Meanwhile, medieval peasants were sleeping like logs under a goat-smelling wool blanket, because their lives followed a natural rhythm. No blue light blasting their eyeballs until midnight, no overstuffed calendars. They worked hard physically, they ate heavy carb-rich meals, and when night fell they stopped. Their bodies were tired, their brains were bored, and their environment was dark and silent. It wasn't a wellness routine, it was just Tuesday. The results were surprisingly close to what modern experts call ideal sleep hygiene, and even their segmented sleep may have helped regulate hormone cycles. Some sleep researchers argue our obsession with a single 8-hour block might be doing more harm than good. It turns out the biggest sleep innovation of the last 700 years may have been completely forgetting how to sleep like we used to. The same people who thought bathing was optional somehow cracked the code to better sleep than most of us manage, with $1,000 mattresses and guided meditation apps. Which makes you wonder, if they slept so well, what else were they doing better than us? That question leads to another fascinating truth about medieval life: their relationship with work and nature. Unlike our modern world of sedentary jobs and rigid schedules, their lives were governed by physical labor and the rhythms of the seasons. They rose with the sun to work the fields, forge steel, or weave cloth, and their bodies were genuinely tired at the end of the day. They didn't need a gym membership or a fitness tracker to get their exercise. Their livelihood was their workout. This deep physical exertion, combined with a diet of natural, unprocessed foods, created a foundation of health and fatigue that made sleep an easy, natural conclusion to the day, not a chore to be achieved. Their sense of community was also far more tangible than ours. The script mentions families sharing beds, but this was just one aspect of a life lived in constant, close proximity. With no internet, no social media, and no private entertainment, interaction was fit. Neighbors helped each other with harvests, celebrated festivals together, and shared stories and news in the town square. This constant real-world social connection, though sometimes challenging, provided a sense of belonging and security that is often missing from our isolated modern lives. They were part of a cohesive unit, and that collective existence provided a quiet mental peace we rarely find today. And in their profound lack of comfort, they may have found a greater appreciation for the small things: the simple warmth of a fire on a cold night, a satisfying meal, the shared laughter in a crowded room. These weren't luxuries, they were life itself. We are so consumed with optimizing every aspect of our lives that we sometimes lose sight of the simple, fundamental joys. We seek happiness in gadgets and convenience, while they found it in the core elements of human existence: hard work, community, and the rhythms of the natural world. Ultimately, the story of medieval sleep isn't a call to abandon modern life. It's a powerful reminder that our pursuit of technological progress has come with a hidden cost. We have gained convenience, but we may have lost our connection to our own bodies, our communities, and the natural world around us. Perhaps the greatest lesson we can learn from them isn't about hay-filled mattresses, but about the profound, restorative power of living a simpler life, aligned with the ancient rhythms we have forgotten.